Create a sample shell script that can be used to trigger the lambda function right in your terminal. You don't have to go to the AWS console. So for doing that, what I'm doing is I'm creating a sample directory called, let's say for example, 10x lambda. Okay, and going into 10x lambda. So just create a file called touch level.py. Okay, and also create a dummy docker file for that, touch docker file, and do the same thing for touch shell script. Okay, which is basically docker-test.sh. All right, now we have these three files. So let's open this file and see what can we do. So for open this file, there is okay. So the file is currently empty. So as a first step, since we are using AWS, and AWS have a Python SDK called Boto3. So we're going to import Boto3. Because we're not using really much with the Boto3, but this is just a starting point for us to understand that we are using AWS and that too in Python. Right? So a simple definition called lambda handler event and context. Okay, so all we are doing is print event. Not doing anything here. So now our Python script is ready. So let's go ahead and create our Docker file as well. Okay, so for that I do the same thing, code Docker file. So this is currently empty. So all we are doing here is first public .ecr.aws. So we are just calling off our lambda Python package, Python with the version 3.8. Okay, and then we're gonna copy our hello world Python file to lambda root. So Boto3 and AWS has AWS has an built-in variable called lambda task root. Okay, so after this, all we are executing the command here is hello world dot lambda handler. All right, so I'm going to explain you that what we did so far. So here we have two files. We created two files. One is hello world.py and Docker file. So here for the hello world.py, all we did was created a lambda underscore handler, and we named this file called hello-world, right? So all we are doing with the Docker file here is, if you're familiar with how Docker works, so the Docker file works, all we are using is we are calling out the Python library here, and then after that we are copying our file, which is hello-world.py, to the lambda root folder. And after that, the command that need to be executed here is the lambda handler. So here, since we have the handler has lambda underscore handler, all we are doing is the file name dot lambda underscore handler. All right, so we are almost done. So now let's also open our shell script code docker shell script. And here, all we are doing here is pretty much simple. What we do is we create a shell script /bash. Okay, and all we are doing is sts get caller identity. This is the first thing that we need to execute as a shell script, just to make sure our credentials are updated at the CLI level. Okay, and then we are running a bunch of Docker commands. The first command that we want to run is docker build where it's the root, and the version here is, we're tagging it as hello world, just putting in random number here. For now I'm just putting the basic starting number, and after this one all I wanted to do is docker execute it. So for running it, so what I'll do is I am putting a docker here and I'm running this in my port at 9000:8080, which is my local, right? And so you know this one, right? So AWS, this is basically what we're telling is we are also passing then our AWS credentials to it. And if you remember how we are passing those AWS credentials when we are configuring the AWS CLI, right? So the key things here is AWS access key ID equals to, this is where you are exporting it, right? AWS key access ID, right? And after that, same thing goes here. AWS secret access key equals to, okay, and now it's a session AWS session token, right? Let's do AWS session token. Alright, and here all we're doing is passing out the region. AWS which region is your lambda function need to be deployed. So here it is docker AWS region. Alright, we're almost there. And the last one is what is the tag that we are running. Here we have created a tag called hello world, tag number 0.0.1, right? So with that being said, all we are trying to do here is we have created this file and we created a Docker file, and this shell script will basically help us to execute this Docker file, and also not only execute this but also able to run the Docker file, right? So let's test it out. Okay, so once we are done with coding, so the second step is to execute the shell script, executing that file. So sh docker test sh. Okay, so it means that the Docker has been executed and it is currently running. So the second step of what we need to do is open up a new terminal. Maybe you can open up your regular command line terminal, or you can create a new terminal here and enter this URL. So this is the URL which we have already configured in our shell script. I'll walk you through what exactly we did here. But for now, if you execute this curl command, you should see that it has printed out this event. It means your lambda function has been executed with this event. So basically what we are saying here is anything that you write here and if you want to execute it, all you need to do here is once your Python script is ready with the real API calls to the S3 bucket or real API calls to any of the AWS functions that you are trying to execute, all we need to do is run the shell script and after that execute this command. So whatever the outputs that you would generally see in CloudWatch logs, you should be seeing all this stuff here. If you see here, does this sound familiar to you? Like info, warnings, and start request IDs and all stuff. So this is exactly what we are asking to print, because our curl command, which is having, we are sending this empty array to our lambda function, which is basically printing that event. So if you have a real use case of calling all the AWS APIs, that will basically print all your information here. I hope this tutorial helped you to understand how you can use your AWS CLI command with the combination of your code editor to not even go into your console, but develop your lambda functions within your code editor and execute them.